Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports, our first program for the year 2022, or they will say 2022. Yes, well, a warm welcome to one and all. Our first TalkSports program, Saturday Sports Special for the year, and we continue to discuss sports and those who are surrounding sports, I should say as well. Okay, yeah. So today we'll be looking at what lies ahead, as we indicated, what lies ahead for sports, not just in Grenada, but in the wider scheme of things, and not just one particular sport, but whether it's track and field, whether it's football, whether it's cricket, of course, netball, basketball. What do you think we should expect in 2022? Bearing in mind the challenges faced in 2020, 2021. Okay. And I know in the minds of a lot of folks, whether or not things like the Carifta Games, the sports meets, the annual sports meets, the how basketball, football, volleyball, netball, how they were affected some way or the other, cricket, and I'm talking about in the local sense, whether or not with the ongoing pandemic, whether that will continue to affect the hosting and staging of sporting events, and what sort of challenges lie ahead for sportsmen and sportswomen. These are the things that we'll be discussing today. The usual suspect, Rudian Sylvan, is in Toronto, Canada. We'll hear what he has to say. We'll hear the views of others who will probably chime in and express their views on what is happening. Not forgetting West Indies cricket. Certainly, there is the ongoing series, West Indies versus Ireland. And, the new selection panel headed by Desmond Haynes and including Ramnesh Sawan. What do you think? Is it a turning page for West Indies cricket in terms of selection? Not in terms of results right away, but in terms of selection, of course. And 2022 will be a very hectic international. There's a very hectic international calendar of sport. 2022 World Cup football. And propose Carifta Games in Jamaica. In fact, only 2 days ago, they had the 100 days countdown. So the Jamaicans appear to be on track. But mind you, likewise, Bermuda, they were on track to host the 2021. And then Mr. COVID was very rampant. And, all the factors and challenges had to put it off. Okay. Not forgetting swimming, Okay. We want to talk a little bit swimming. Hey, Edwin Sam, good afternoon to you in New Jersey. Of course, I know you should be locked on also to your NFL, diehard NFL fan, Edwin Sam. So we'll be discussing quite a few things. Happy New Year to you as well. Let me get on Rudian Sylvan, who is in, and Rudian is the usual suspect. He's in Toronto, Canada. We'll be discussing what is on his mind as well, as I certainly probably has a couple, he had jotted down a couple of things on what he wants to talk about regarding sports in the new year and what, on his mind. And I'll get back some information there, to let you know that West Indies cricket in terms of women's cricket, okay, Afi Fletcher, Canadian Afi Fletcher is back in the fold in terms of the camp. So we should be hearing a little more about Afi Fletcher in West Indies cricket. She was absent for a while. Let's say good afternoon to you, Rudian. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
I'm fine. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. I know I sent it for you on Messenger, but now I can say it to you now. Happy
Right.
New Year to you and all the best for this 2022 and all the listeners. Happy New Year to you as well. It's
Okay.
good to be back and starting out with a blast as usual.
Mhm.
And you start the year good, you finish good. So it has started
Yeah.
good.
Right. Starting good for you means what? Cold weather, snow, what it is.
Oh man, it is freezing today. It
Yeah.
is freezing today. It should warm up a little bit later on, but it's
Yeah.
freezing. But also, we just getting hit really bad with the pandemic. We are in a lockdown for about 3 weeks to a month, and we're not too sure what's going to happen after. So that's kind of through our indoors, especially for track and field, because every indoor facility, gyms, everything is closed. And they say
Oh.
to do stuff outside, but it's freezing. How much can you do outside, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like we back to square one, but there's a lot. I have a few meetings next week to figure out what's going to happen for high school track and field for next this season
Yeah.
coming up next week. But it's a lot, and it's a
Well,
struggle.
I'm glad you make that point because that's the advantage of living in the tropics,
Yeah,
where we have the outdoor and you can do social distancing, etc., etc. Except that in the case of, and I'm just using Grenada as an example, where
yeah,
yes, you have that, but folks are not. I want to say utilizing or making use of such, but yet for all, we seeing videos and photos of people cramming in buses and
and and what gets me with that too, for us to move forward,
mhm.
everybody want to move forward, but not doing what they're supposed to do.
What's supposed to be
Um,
done. Yeah.
and I never force anyone or mention. I believe people should be vaccinated. That's my personal belief.
Right.
Um, and seeing what happened in Grenada and looking at the percentage, like we only have 5% of people vaccinated. After you seeing what happened, we can't move forward. There's no way we can move forward to get anything done if the people don't also take a stand and do
Mhm.
something.
Yeah. Well,
Because yeah,
no, I was saying like you. I'm in a similar situation, whereas I'm not forcing anyone. I'm not compelling anyone to be vaccinated. That's your choice. Okay. All I would say is that if you are not, then you have reasons why you are not, and therefore you have to live with the consequences, whatever it is. Okay.
yeah.
If, like yourself, we are vaccinated, we decided why we want to be vaccinated, and whatever it is, we live with it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I have my say, and I believe the messenger matters, and I keep
mhm,
saying I believe that's my personal belief in Grenada. I think is the messenger, it's
mhm,
not the message, and I think if we get that change, we might see some difference. That's me personally, and I always looking out for Grenada.
mhm,
I mean, it's funny because I don't look at the rest of the islands the way I look at Grenada because
mhm,
I want the best for us. I want our people to be wiser. I want our people to be better. I want our people to have the knowledge and the understanding, not only on COVID, but everything else.
mhm.
What we have out here,
Understandably.
I
Mhm,
want them to have the same thing. I want us to have good doctors, good lawyers. I want to see Grenadians are billionaires. I want that for us. So it's
mhm,
not just on sports, that just on a broad. But if you close yourself off and you don't go around the borders of everything else, you're never going to know what you can do.
mhm. Yeah, but yeah, I understand, and and just what you're saying there, even in the broader sense, we can is a nice segue into how that sort of lifestyle is even affecting sports, because yes, last year um there was an appeal, there was you know a drive for sporting events, to take place, to stage this, to stage that, but people are not doing what they're supposed to do, you know and
And,
I'm
and even if you
hoping.
go back to and even
Yeah.
if you go back to that, because what that put us in, when you look at some countries, like the European countries last year, was having track meets. They were safe. They did it. Um, we were shut down here. The Caribbean was shut down. Jamaica, probably the only island that, in my knowledge, of maybe had something going on safely, even with their curfew and everything that they had. And we still a lot of wall meets happening, including the Olympics. But what it is too is that we going back in the same thing. Some countries can do certain things because they put their foot down and they make it as safe and they prove themselves that they can be safe in doing it. Other countries haven't done that because of the people. So if you don't have it, some of the athletes itself not vaccinated, they don't want to be vaccinated. So you're kind of on that stage, and before you know it, like right now, we know you can't get on a plane without being
Well,
vaccinated.
you
That's a
know,
fact.
I'm glad you made that point. Let me just rewind and come with something there. All
Yeah,
right, let me
definitely.
go with that. Edwin Sam, yes, Happy New Year to you. Mike Batiste, my good friend Mike Batiste, Mike is saying, and I know Mike's views on that already. We can move forward if we make the choice to move forward. It is dishonest to say we're not forcing you, but you live with the consequences that we will impose upon you. Mike, I agree to disagree in that in the context of what Rudian was just saying there in terms of to get onto a plane now, right? You have to be vaccinated, okay? Or you have to be well, in some instances you have to be vaccinated. In some instances, depending on where you're going, you have to be tested and tested
Tested.
negative. Okay,
Yeah,
right. These are the consequences, Mike. There's nothing we can. Is not. I mean, you can't say consequences imposed upon. These are the consequences that if you're not vaccinated or if you're not tested, right, you cannot board an aircraft. Likewise, if you're not vaccinated or you're not tested, you're not allowed entry. Okay? Entry meaning entry to a country. It could be entry into the palace, entry into a store, these sort of things. These are the consequences, Mike, right? And it's not something consequences by Michael Bascom or Rudian Silvan or the government of Grenada. Globally, look what's happening to the tennis star Djokovic, I should say, in Australia.
yep.
And he is basically in quarantine in a quarantine, well, hostage they call it. His parents call it a hostage. Waiting for a hearing that will determine whether or not he remains in Australia, because as far as they're concerned, remember his visa is already cancelled. Okay,
Yeah,
so he's almost persona non grata. He's just because of some appeal and whatever.
yeah, yeah.
If it's an ordinary bloke like me and you, we already back in our country. Okay, we already back in our country. Yeah, and I'm saying these are the consequences, right? These are the
It is,
consequences, right?
and the same thing. Even talking about that, you're looking at the people from Australia. The people themselves look at. We don't have a choice to do what he's doing. Does he have a medical issue or is it just a letter from a doctor? See, these are the questions. These are questions we have to ask, right? So they do not want to riot in Australia. So of course they have to put some things in place, and the government have to do some things that
Yeah,
he don't have to. And I look at it as, and I'm being ignorant towards it, so forgive me. You really want 20 already? Do you have to go,
yeah, but
knowing the situation?
and here the context too. I mean, knowing Australia as a place that is
Yeah,
very regiment when it comes to vaccination, and
yeah,
I mean, they don't make joke with that. And as they said, rules are rules. They don't care whether you are the star or whether you are a vagrant. The rules are the rules, and especially for the ordinary folks, right?
yeah,
It's unfair for them to treat him some way and then treat their folks in another way. Okay. Look, there were Australians who were quarantined
yeah.
for weeks, you know, in another country, waiting to get home because of the rules of their country. So that's one way where sports already affected. I mean, we heard what Rafa Nadal had to say about that. He said, listen, we knew exactly, he knew exactly what
What he was
are the
what he was going
requirements,
into? Yeah,
what he's going into. Just as Rafa Nadal decided, hey, if I want to play tennis, if I want to continue on the circuit, I have to be vaccinated. Okay, it's unfair for some to demand certain privileges. Look, what's his name? I'm just slipping. Don't mind. Brooklyn Nets star.
Well, I was about to talk about him. I was about to
Yeah,
say the same thing in a minute because you look at
yeah,
him, he definitely cannot play in New York. Like there is no way he
right. He
can play in
cannot.
New York.
So,
That's the
so
law.
he
That's the
only
rule.
so he becomes a part-time player. He only plays on the road. Okay.
Yeah, but still making the 30 something plus $1 million.
Million dollars. Yeah. Edwin
So
Sam is saying, I'm still waiting to hear an intelligent, logical rationale for not being vaccinated. Yeah, Kyrie Irving. Thanks, Edwin. Kyrie. Yeah. And yeah, he came back on his
first game,
first
yeah,
game
and
and
couldn't
played
play the
well.
second game.
Yeah, and played well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he cannot play in the home game because again, these are the
And,
consequences,
and
Mike.
and then again, even with the consequences, I've seen and
Yeah.
I've heard because you got fans everywhere. People are Brooklyn Nets is losing fans because of that. No, because you're in a situation you want to bring him in to play part time. Either you have a law, either you play or you don't play.
Mhm.
Because you're talking about a team that could actually win a championship,
Mhm.
and then you have a part-time player because with him you're winning a championship.
Mhm.
Without him, you can't.
Right.
And if they go on, they're going to have 4 home games because they will be probably number one team, so they're going to have the advantage at home. So that's
Yeah.
4 home games you cannot play. So I
Yeah, Mike.
so
Hey, Mike Batiste seems to be giving trouble this this week. But I know when I switch the conversation, I know Mike will get into his gear. But Mike
yeah,
is
yeah,
saying
yeah.
he became a part-time player because all the vaccinated guys are homesick with COVID. Don't leave that out.
Hmm.
But earlier he said to get on a plane, you have to be vaccinated. Yet the virus travels the world into places that those restrictions are valid in. That should tell you that the mandates are useless and a new form of apartheid. It is clear that these rules are wrong. Mike, in your
But you
view,
see now, if we
it
if
might be
we
wrong.
understand, and Mike, I respect you very much, and I respect your views, and everybody have their own views. The virus, what they're saying is not like we put a lockdown in Toronto, not because the virus is spreading. It's because we had 3 hospitals that was on code orange.
Okay. All right. Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? 3 big
Yeah.
hospitals was on code orange, and code
Mm-hmm.
orange meant overwhelmed understaff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So imagine the vaccinated people is catching the virus, but they're not in hospital. You know, understand? They're not hospitalized. Imagine those who's not vaccinated. What would happen to them? You think the virus will pass them and go to those who's? So we got to look at certain things. So again, I get it. My only concern the vaccine is that the doctors they don't know what's going on. The government they don't know what's going on, and I think the behavior should be towards that. They're giving us all this run around and to do this and to do that, and they don't know what is really going on, and they give you to do this today and tomorrow they say do something else, do this today and the next day, because they get it information as it come and they change everything. Just do it in one way. We're going to give you information as it come.
Mm-hmm.
Done. So just that, and that's what creating the issue where people is mistrusting the government now because there's too much bounce around. One day you go, the next day you're not, and I think that's really what it is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the major concern now going forward is how that and all these concerns we have will affect sports or continue to affect sports.
Yeah.
We can zoom it in locally because obviously there's the local sports meet at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Normally, schools getting ready for the track and field. The intercall, Carifta, all these sort of things. But coming
Even
out
when you're
of that,
talking about that, yeah.
I was saying, coming out of that, I think, and Mike, I wish you probably can chime in on that because I believe that is where, out of this year and a half into 2 years, well, almost 2 years of that sort of operations, it was important, or it was an opportunity, not important, but an opportunity for clubs, to function. proper club structure, because
Yep.
we understand under the school system how it operates, right?
Yep.
Under the school system how it operates. So the school is a different structure altogether. Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sports,
Yep.
permission, blah blah blah, all this. With a club structure now, and if you have proper clubs operating, it means that it's almost, easy for, the clubs to function, albeit most of the membership of the clubs are basically school kids, right? They're from schools, okay? But so it was an opportunity, I would say, for clubs to start
Develop.
functioning,
Yep.
develop, formed, all these sort of things, because they will see the importance of having these clubs. I know Mike and company involved in clubs and thing now. So I don't know what it is they would have been doing in the meantime, but albeit you can have your club, you could be functioning, etc., etc. But if there's no proper structure on the national level as well, because if there isn't a program by the National Association to ensure that clubs, can function, can operate, can participate, then yes, you can have your club, but what will happen?
But
But
with everything now, it still goes back to the one thing: vaccination. The same thing here in Toronto. The clubs is taking advantage, and the athletics department out here is taking advantage of no school sports, which is good. But to get into those facilities to train, you must be vaccinated. So it
okay.
still come back to the same thing. It must be vaccinated. So everything throws right back to that. And unless we understand that, unless you want to do something, that's what it is. You don't want to do it, then that's the situation. But if the vaccination do come into play, we may as well take advantage of it and get things running. Not saying that you cannot catch COVID. They're not saying that, but they're saying that the chances of you being hospitalized and for you to get or do anything now, you have to be vaccinated. That's just the bottom line of how it is, and it will be this way for a long time, I believe.
Yeah.
The challenges is there because I have a really big meeting for our high school track and field championship out here, and we're talking about almost give or take maybe 5,000 students. We're talking about in different category. Talking about all the events, 24 kids from midget, junior, senior, every event, 24 for each category, then male and female. So that's a lot of kids we're talking about to run in an event out here. How are we going to do it? Do we extend school? But that's an impossible factor because I've been a teacher for a long time. I know you have to get permission to extend school. You cannot, the meet is a 3-day meet already. You cannot make it 5 days because you have people coming from all over Ontario. And it takes you, some places out of Ontario, take you a whole day to drive just out of Ontario, 24 hours to literally drive just to come to Toronto, you know? So that is a lot of time they have to take away from school, plus with all the days they really missed already. So it become a challenge. So we cannot extend certain things, and that is the same thing going forward. Can the World Championship extend? Can NACA games extend? Can Carifta game extend so that you spread the meets out, the meet out, so you have less athletes coming in or less people coming in to see those games, so you could make it safe? But do they have the funding to do it? And do they have? Is it a timely thing to do it because people are flying from different countries?
But so let's zoom in. We'll go into Carifta and all these other things in a while, but although they might be related. But do you believe that this year in particular, and we can look at the Grenada context, that it may boil down to being vaccinated for things like intercall, for example, restrictions. Remember, we didn't have it, right? And if they do proceed to have or stage things like the school championships or the intercall championships, what sort of restrictions they'll have, what you're thinking, not that you're in the boardroom or decision making, but what's your thinking of how they will go about doing that this year?
First and foremost, it's a hard sell for them right now, because if my understanding is the government of Grenada have a mandated vaccine for the staff, and and for government agencies, including teachers. And you don't have you can't do it for the kids and not do it for others. So that right there is a failure coming right there. Um, if I'm using Canada as and school as a whole, you must be vaccinated to play sports. None of the kids can run with masks. You probably can throw with a mask, but in terms of you have a mask on running a 1500 or a 400, that's uncomfortable. That's very uncomfortable. You probably can do a shot put with it, maybe the javelin, but they cannot wear masks everywhere they go. And then, do you have fans? That's another thing. Toronto Raptors is now playing with no fans. They're back to that now. So that is a challenge. But I believe that the kids, if anybody want to take part in sports in Grenada, should be vaccinated, because then does the facility, does the national stadium, does it require vaccination to come in?
Yeah. So it all depends on.
So you guess what I'm saying. So it also goes based on that too. There's something that facility recommend that you need to be vaccinated to come inside. So you going back to that again too, right? So they're like soon we're gonna have the cricket, right? Do you need to be vaccinated to go inside there? And then they're not only vaccinated, do you need the booster? Because that might be another challenge sooner or later. But dealing with one thing at a time, I believe 2-dose vaccination should be required for the athletes to compete. And then that goes now. Do you do it with fans or not?
All right. Well, let me go back to some earlier comments. Okay. Mike said earlier that fully vaccinated schools in Jamaica are being closed. I got that news from a fully vaccinated athlete in Jamaica. So what now? Mm-hmm. The entire team is vaxxed. One tested positive. They locked down the dorms for 2 weeks, which can mean no Easter champs. Okay. Of good pal Toro Deputy say that's how science works, Rudian. As research is gathered and technology improves, medical advice changes. It happens that way with the use of aspirin and coconut oil. And as fellas like you and Bascom might know, Viagra too. We don't know that, Toro. But some things are certain about COVID and vaccination at this point. Vaccine does not cure or prevent you from contracting COVID-19 or any of the many variants, but the science shows it reduces severe sickness, and hospitalization, and death from the virus. And I think that's the point.
And that's the point. That's the point. That's what they are saying. They are not saying, as I'm telling people, they want to say don't take the virus, don't take why they allow people now not to take the vaccine and people lose their jobs. They're not telling you cannot catch the virus. They're still telling you to social distance, wear your mask, but you're just saying to help yourself from not being in the hospital, because that's what they don't want over one. They do not want you to come in a hospital. They do not want you to be in a hospital. Do any one of us want to be on a ventilator? No, we do not.
Well, I'm glad you say that. Well, Edwin is saying, thanks to Ro, plain and simple. The New York governor issued I shouldn't say orders, but she appealing to New Yorkers to avoid clogging the hospitals, because a lot of people are actually going into the hospital for vaccination. Could you imagine that?
Yep.
And preventing a lot of folks from getting the medical attention that they need. Yep. But your good partner Mike Batista is saying vaccination for intercall gonna risk kids' lives from heart disease for a track meet. I think Mike. So what do you think? What do you suggest then? Because it seems as if that's where we're going to. That's where we're heading. Remember,
just before you go with that, right? Let me for Mike. This is for you. Let's go a little bit further. Let's go 2 years. If France require you to be vaccinated to come into the country, won't the athletes be vaccinated to go to the Olympics? And you cannot get on a plane without being vaccinated. So where does that put us now? So if we don't teach them that now, when 2 years from now, when they might have the ability not only in track and field but in other sport to make an Olympic team, they have to be vaccinated for that to happen. So I'm just saying.
Well, what struck me a day or two ago was the news that North Korea pulling out of the Winter Olympics in China
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
because of the the COVID and all of that, and knowing well, I don't want to say it like that, but they considered North Korea to be a rogue state, you know, hardliners, you know. It's very surprising that you're hearing that from a place like North Korea. You understand?
okay, yeah,
Knowing that
yeah.
North Korea will say, "Hey, damn it, you know, we going, we participated," even though they may be using the opportunity to say, "Hey, we can," as an excuse, we can stay out of the Olympics as an excuse. But it was surprising to hear a state as North Korea, a country as North Korea, sorry, saying that they are staying out, they are withdrawing, they are, you know, staying away from the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, because of COVID.
Well,
That to me,
the NHL did it with their
mhm,
players
but with their
because of the
players,
same
yeah.
thing. So they're
Um,
looking at the safety. Yeah.
Mike is saying right, and the biggest risk reduction factor is youth, not vaccination. Youth and the biggest risk group from the vaccination is the youth. Now you are using the fact that flawed policies are being adopted by big countries as justification of flawed policies. That does not make sense. Mike, we can argue that. The fact
It's
is, and not only that, some of these, not just policies, remember some countries go as far as enacting laws,
no,
enacting
I mean,
laws,
it's just
um,
our small island as we love very much. You cannot come into Grenada, being a citizen or not, without being vaccinated.
mhm.
You cannot. It's a fact. You cannot
Yeah,
come into Grenada. So we're not even using big countries with big names. Little Grenada,
mhm,
you cannot.
yeah.
You know,
but
so
and we're seeing that with most of the international sporting events,
yeah,
they are moving to the point where you have to be
vaccinated.
vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and mind you, it may go to the point where you have to be have the booster shot as well.
Yeah.
For example, I know there is now it's now almost mandatory that um, health workers in New York
Must.
State must have the booster. As the governor was saying, you cannot be in the health
Health
sector.
healthcare system
You do
and
do
not. Yeah.
healthcare, and
Hmm.
you're not vaccinated, or
You're not vaccinated.
no,
Yeah.
you're the front line, so you have to be.
Yeah.
So that's where it goes, Mike. In terms of sports,
And I'm just saying is
you
it
know,
is not just a sporting thing and it's not just a big country thing, it's the whole world. So what
mhm,
make a small group different from the whole entire world? This is not just a American virus or a European virus or in the Caribbean. It's worldwide.
yeah,
Countries you never heard about, they have
but
it.
but and not only that, it's probably one way you see countries are uniting when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Countries are very united. I mean, they will differ on other issues, but when it comes to the whole issue of fighting that the COVID and containing the spread and what have you, I think they are united on that. There's some sort of international agreement among them
And
that
and and I and I've been speaking to a few people from Grenada. I mean, just 2 days ago, we had a 5-year-old die from coronavirus in Toronto. Mind you, she was at Sick Kids Hospital, so she has some sort of underlying condition. But just the fact of hearing a 5-year-old die from the virus, it really it struck you really, and it hits you
mhm,
a lot because then that could be your child,
you're right.
underlying condition or not, right? So we have to look at certain things in certain places. I believe that, and I said to a lot of my friends in Grenada and across the globe, if you concern, see your doctor, because one of the issues that because we don't visit the doctor as much, we don't know if we have any underlying conditions. We don't know if we have any situation. Visit your doctor, seek your doctor's consent, and then in that way make a decision based on the information that you get it from your doctor that you trust. Because we hear about, oh, you have this, and we jump and we run and we go and buy this and get this and get this, and we don't even get a second opinion.
Well,
Some doctor will tell you this, we run, we don't ask no question,
well,
and they
well,
just meant.
that I'm glad you make that point, because I remember in the early days of there was this argument about the vaccine, and I think it had to do a lot with people on YouTube and Facebook, social media, reading things, and and probably not doing their own research and things like that. So they believe what they see is their research and things like that. So, and I remember once asking someone, I said, oh, hold on, let me find out something from you. I said, do you go to your doctor? Yeah, they visit your doctor. I said, when your doctor administer medication to you or whatever it is, do you ask the doctor why this medication or why this and not that? Why, if he says this is what you should get, and would you argue with the doctor and say, no, doctor, not this. I need it. I mean, do you? Oh, they said no. I say, okay. So, I mean, what's the point? I say, you go to the doctor, you have a problem with your shoulder, or your blah, 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 whatever. The doctor say, okay, I would need to give you, a shot or whatever it is for the pain or whatever. Do you ask the doctor what's in the, what's in the shot? These are you're more concerned about the pain and getting the
pain
pain
and
ease
stuff.
and whatever it is like that. So you don't question, the thing about you don't question your medical experts and things like that. So regarding to what they administer, the same doctor is suggesting or recommending that you take the vaccine, and you believe that what you're seeing on YouTube or whatever it is probably more powerful and more factual than probably what the doctor is telling you. That was just probably the argument we had. But the point I'm trying to get to, Sylvan, is that the bigger scheme of things is that what will happen if, let's say, for example, Jamaica, the organizers, and I'm just using that as an example, decide that for participation in the Carifta Games, all athletes have to be vaccinated. I'm just using. In addition to that, even if they don't, let's say airline say, for you to board my aircraft, you must be vaccinated. So if the organizers of the Carifta Games do not have this decree or this, requirement, but the airline has the requirement, how do you get to Jamaica? That's one. Okay. If the airline doesn't have it, but the organizers say that you must be, or part of the requirement is that you must be vaccinated. Because remember, the issue with Bermuda last year had to do with what the government at the time was requiring.
Yeah.
And it was a bit late with this and that. And I think the time span they were looking at with the 14 days and the quarantine. And at that time was a lot had to do with quarantine and, all these sort of things. Okay. This time, we just, shy up. Well, we just had 100 days countdown about 2 days ago. So we're in the 90s now. Right. So folks have enough time. Okay. The national federations have enough time to decide on, albeit some federations may not even have their athletes ready or be selected, but at least have an idea that part of the requirement, for example, I'm just saying the requirement might be that you either have to be fully vaccinated or you have to be tested, have a negative test prior to 72 hours, whatever it is like that. So, all these things
we have two things. Two things, right? IAAF, and I believe that our intercalling Grenada falls under IAAF as well as under NACAP, right? And I say that because if it's the rule of IAAF to be vaccinated,
which is World Athletics now,
which is World Athletics, and if it's the rule for NACAP to be vaccinated, if you host a meet and it's not vaccinated, that means it's not under that banner. That means somebody come and break a world record, it don't count. You cannot use the times in there to use it to go to an international meet. It don't count because you're not following the rule of what is required.
Yeah, because once they have it as a requirement,
once they have it, the world meet now is 2 false start, right? 1 false start. In our high school sports out here, we have 2 false starts. That means we have somebody from Athletics Canada at the meet that if a particular race end up in 2 false start, it don't count. So the times don't count. So they cancel that out for a kid want to make a national team or something. Even though it's in the body of the sport of 2 false start, but they break it down to if it's the 100 meters go smooth, that means it's okay. But if there's a false that particular race don't count whatever time you may run to make a national team,
Yeah,
because it falls under the ban of the two Foster.
yeah.
And it's just how it is, because you have to follow the
Yeah,
rules.
yeah. Mike, no, he didn't say that the vaccine is under the IWF rule. He's saying if
If
it's
it is, yeah.
under,
If it
yeah,
is.
if it's under, he's just using it as an example. He did not say
Yeah.
it's under, right? He's
Yeah.
saying that if it's under, then it becomes 1-1, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You never know. National federations, well, international sporting federations may just adopt certain things because of what's happening. It's like how, um, um, well, even remember, even countries can supersede. So, for example, Tennis Australia may have the requirement, or there's no requirement that you have to be vaccinated, for example, to play
And by
in.
right, and by true, they did not. That's why he
Well,
got the okay to come.
well, and I'm saying that, but
Yeah.
the government, the state, the
The government
country,
was the issue. Yeah. It
the
was country.
country has
Hmm.
rules that
Yeah.
you have to enter, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That supersedes whether or not Tennis Australia says that, because you have to. The state supersedes, and the state has control over its borders. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and for it to
And
enter the
it just
country to
it
participate, simple.
and it's just right now.
Mhm.
Most meats may not be vaccinated meats. It may not.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true.
However,
But however, this
however, just to
hosted.
get on a plane,
Well, yeah, that's one.
just to get on the plane alone, you must be vaccinated and take a test and be negative before you actually leave that country. So it's not necessarily the sporting body agree
Mhm.
on being vaccinated. It's just the fact that just leaving the plane alone. NCAA don't have that rule locked in.
Mhm.
They don't have it locked in, but the state might.
Yeah, well.
So if you're
Remember,
going somewhere,
yeah,
you have to be vaccinated to get into that. Yeah.
because I'm saying that to say that in the case of the Carifta Games last year, remember, was the Bermuda government and what it was requiring, and not the Bermuda Athletic Association or NACAC or whatever, or the organizers of the Carifta Games. It was what the Bermuda government had required. Okay?
Yeah.
If it was left up to the organizers, Carifta Games would have taken place. If it was left up to the organizers, they would have go ahead and have the Carifta Games. But they were working along with the Bermuda government, aka the Ministry of Health, etc., etc., etc. And this was what they stipulated, and they had to go by it. And then NACAC made the decision, hey, we won't be able to because of such and such. So I'm saying that to say that even the organizers, but who have stated that they're working very early with the government of Jamaica, etc., the Ministry of Sports, and blah blah blah. But we don't know what can happen within the next month or so,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the government can start saying, hey guys, we may have to relook this, we have to revisit this, we may have to stipulate such and such and such to safeguard the athletes coming in, etc., etc. We don't know. So it's still in a situation where probably in the best interest of your athletes, and I'm talking about the various countries, to probably put things in place to ensure that, hey, these are the athletes that we probably pre-qualify, and it's probably best for them to be vaccinated, in that they most likely will be on the team. And it's something similar to what the footballers, for example, because remember the GFA had this thing where all members of national teams and staff members, etc., had to be vaccinated, and it
Vaccinated. Yeah.
was it was because of where the tournaments are being hosted. It was a requirement for them to
Yeah.
be vaccinated, not necessarily a FIFA requirement, not necessarily a CONCACAF requirement, but because of where the tournaments were being hosted, they had to be vaccinated. So it was in the best interest of ensuring that the players and the staff are fully vaccinated. And they told them that to be a member of the, the contingent, what extra you have to, it was your choice. Say, hey, I don't want to be vaccinated. Well, then, someone else who is fully vaccinated will get the opportunity to go. Okay.
And there's a time period too, right? Between first vaccination and second one. And you might need 2 doses. It might be like a 3 months or 2 months, whatever it is. So that also play a part in it. So that if you wait late and you only get the first one, you can't get the second one without, without there's a timeline too. So you have to consider that as well.
So Mike is saying 70% of Team Grenada's potential character team, are already in Jamaica. So we don't have to worry too much about that. Well, we'll have to worry about the next 30%, Mike. and
we also have to worry about if Jamaica Federation is agreeing, or if character is saying that you need to be vaccinated.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. It is not the interest of any athlete to put them at risk of heart disease to combat a flu. So, Mike, are you suggesting that the
vaccine give you heart disease?
Vaccine, isn't that what I'm reading into? That the I saw you mention about heart disease and things a couple times there, but I'm getting the feeling that you're suggesting that the vaccine can contribute to heart disease. I hope not. I hope I'm not. Yeah, I hope not, Mike. I hope not, because I don't think a lot of people who
I believe that is some wrong information that you.
Yeah, a lot of people might disagree with that. And we probably have to run that with a medical expert to find out whether or not there's anything to show that the vaccine is a contributing factor to heart disease. And you said
even
heart disease to combat a flu. Why would you call the virus, the COVID-19 a flu? Yeah, go on, Rudian.
Yeah, and I mean, we're looking at when I did my calculation, we have 5 major meets for the Caribbean athletes. 1 under 20, and the rest is the character games, Commonwealth Games, U20, NACAC, and then World Championships. So I mean, there is teams to be made, and so everyone may not make all the teams, but there's teams to be made. So you have to put yourself in place, prepare yourself, work hard, train hard, give it everything that you can, make the times, make the qualifying standards, because there is teams to be made, and every team have a different standard. So you probably can definitely go in there and make teams. So you just have to get ready and prepare yourself, because you don't know if they will host or not. Just prepare yourself.
As someone who has been involved in track and field and coaching, etc., what state of mind you think our athletes, and I'm saying athletes, not just, well, you can talk about track and field, but it's obviously will reflect other sporting disciplines that were affected. What state of mind you think our athletes are in? What should be the concern of coaches, etc.? I mean, knowing that they haven't had any sort of competition, some of them may have fallen on the wayside, dropped out, gained weight, lost interest. I mean, what is the state of play regarding?
I will go back.
Sports?
I'm going to go back to something Kirani says, and I'm using him for an example. You sort of itchy. He couldn't sit down. Constantly got to do something. But he's in Arizona, so you have the weather that he can do that, and everyone don't have that. But stay active. What I've seen out here, because we have the facilities open, it become a problem now because, like I said, we're in a 3 weeks shutdown. Hoping that it open back up. But then otherwise, the bouncing around was an issue in the early stage, but now they get back, everything is good, and then bam, it's a 3 week shutdown. But they understand. The coaches understand. I have talked to a lot of coaches. They understand. We're dealing with a situation, and that's just how it is. So they do understand. The athletes, they're in good spirit. The only thing they don't like the in and out, open today, close today, and even if some facility is open, it'll be okay for them, but Not even gyms are open too, right? So everything is closed. It just make it pretty hard for them. But they're in good spirit. Unfortunately, we're not in a tropical island or tropical country that you can just go outside and do something. It's winter at this time and this season, and everything have to be done indoors. So it's a challenge, but they're in good spirit. They understand what's happening out there. They have seen family members who got sick, not hospitalized. They have heard of people who passed away from this. So they're in good spirit, so they know what they need to do. So yeah.
Mhm. Um, Mike is saying, I cannot believe you would be accusing me of spreading misinformation as comes to heart side effects from these vaccines. You claim to have done research, so you know the risk is there. Um, the risk, Mike, so you're really confirming that the vaccine,
It's a
there
risk.
are heart side effects from the vaccine. Um, I don't know about that in terms of the research and what have you, Mike, in terms of that. But I know earlier you stated about here it is. He says, yeah, myocarditis. Look it up. Please don't pretend you don't know. Um, Mike, I'll leave that for the medical experts. My good friend, Dr. Deborah John.
One of the things I said, and I constantly saying that I believe that people should see the doctor. That's one of the biggest things with us in Grenada. That not even going to Caribbean in Grenada, we don't go to the doctor. So a lot of people have a lot of issues, and I'm going to use one for an example. The closest thing to our heart is the mouth, and a lot of times we don't go to dentists. So a lot of people can have a heart attack and they don't even know why. And I say that because a lot of Grenadians may have underlying conditions and they don't even know. And just by hope, maybe by taking the vaccine, could create something in them that they didn't know they had.
Mhm.
So that's what we're saying. You have to see your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the medical field. I'm in the health field in terms of working in a health environment, but not in the medical aspect of it. So I'm saying that see your doctor if you have any concerns. But I believe, based on what's happening, based on what I see what's going on in Grenada, the rising of everything now, people should be vaccinated. That's just my point of view.
Well, yeah. Well, and I mean, our conversation today had to do a lot with how that, in terms of affecting sports, etc., etc. But as you indicated, the way of life, the general way of life in itself could
Comes to that.
affect. Yeah, it could affect sports. Um, the Moderna is banned in some countries for people
Yes.
under the age of 30. We are saying people should go to the doctor, but you're here trying to tell athletes go get vax or no meats. So whichever points that contradicts your needs, your needs verification, I get it. Mike, no, we are not. I think you're missing the point
Yeah,
there, Mike.
I'm missing
Again,
it. I'll say something after you.
Mike, the point here is that, and he started off by saying, which is almost like a disclaimer, that you know no one is forcing anyone to get vaccinated. However, whatever is your choice, whether to be vaccinated or not to be vaccinated, you have to bear the consequences, and the consequences are, as we outline, whether it's getting on a plane, and it's not our doing, you know, they are, airline industry put up their rules. As they say, for example, you must wear a mask while on the plane, public transport, except you're eating. I have seen, up to, a few days ago, I flew back from Denver, and, they'll keep constantly reminding folks, that, please ensure that your mask is on, except that you're eating or drinking, things like that. So, and it's a constant reminder. Okay. That is not our doing. These are the consequences we're talking about, Mike. Okay. So that's the disclaimer. We're not forcing anyone. It's just that you live with that. You have to. And I mean, and whether you're vaccinated or you're not vaccinated, you know, it's recommended that you use a mask, and you have to wear a mask in certain
Social
places.
distance.
You know,
Yeah.
my work, for example, you put on a mask from start to end. Probably, the only time you can take off your mask, I know, is probably when you get to the parking lot, because even in the train station and all that, you have to be wearing a mask. You know, so until you get into the parking lot or get into your vehicle, you can remove your mask. You know, and it's also recommended that you still wear a mask if you have other folks in your vehicle, etc., etc. You know, that's the way of life now. These are the consequences, Mike. Okay, so we're not forcing anyone, and we're saying the athletes themselves will be affected some way or the other, because it may not be the organizers of a sporting event, but it may be the rules of the country, you know, that you have to be vaccinated or you have to test negative or whatever rules that they decide on, and the organizers have to abide by it. Um, Rudian?
And going back, even going back to the vaccine, as he said with the Moderna, I am very I study what vaccine I would take. I did my research. So when I decide I'm going to take it, that's a decision I made. Then I decide which one I'm going to take. I study on that. So it's not, yes, they have, and I noticed Grenada have a few vaccine that a lot of countries don't even recommend. A lot of countries not even given, and ask why are we receiving those vaccines. I question that too. I want to get the booster. It is very hard to get the Pfizer on the booster out here. I'm not getting nothing else. That's me personally. Unless it's Pfizer, that's the only one I'm taking. I'm not taking nothing else. I'm not doing a mix. I'm just going to stick with one thing. That my research, my decision. So you, it's not just saying I'm going to go take it. You understand? You just sometimes, not every time somebody has to give you something, you just say, okay, give me, give me, give me. You have to do your research. You have to speak to certain people, which is might be the right one for you or not the right one for you. There are a lot of Johnson and Johnson had issue and maybe still have issue. Everyone didn't get blood clot from Johnson and Johnson. Everyone didn't die from Johnson and Johnson. Same thing go for the Moderna. It did not happen to everyone,
Mhm,
because it goes to some people do have some issues in their body they don't know they even carrying.
mhm,
Somebody else say some of us out here we walking dead.
mhm.
We have issues we don't even know we have it.
Well,
Issues
that's
that is
true.
so bad that we don't even know. We walking dead. We don't
Mhm.
even know because we don't take the time to go get checked. We don't do a checkup.
Yeah,
We
that,
don't do those things. And
yeah,
that's what is important. It's
yeah.
nothing to do with, sometimes it's not even the vaccine. It's
Mhm,
just your health.
mhm,
You understand? Because like I said, I personally prefer it, I do not want to catch this virus. I don't know what it's going to do to me, what it's going to do to my health, to my psyche. I don't know what it's going to do to me. I don't know what's going to, the minute I catch it, I don't know where my mind is going to go because
mhm,
people have died. So
mhm,
I don't know where my mind is going to take me. You
mhm,
understand? So to prevent that from happening, I'm vaccinated and nothing happened to me. I didn't grow no hands, no fingers. I have no memory loss. I have no extra toes, nothing like that happened to me.
uh,
Other people may have some sort of issues with it. Like I heard, forgive me, some women have some bleeding issues. I don't know if it come from the vaccine. I am not a medical doctor to say,
mhm,
but if prior to them, before them taking it, they didn't have issues, then they start having issues. Then they have a condition that they didn't even know they had
mhm.
because it don't happen for every woman.
Yeah. Well, well.
So yeah,
The interesting thing about it is that I can use the example of the men's 400 meters at the Tokyo Olympics. I can tell you that um, the gold, the silver, and the bronze medalists, they were all vaccinated, eh? And I don't think it affected their performances. Okay, you know, we run out of time. You know, we have
yeah.
been discussing, and time went so fast. You know, but you know, it's a nice discussion. But I want to end on that point. And you know, Rudy, let me tell you, don't be taken aback. Don't be consumed by the things you see on social media by folks who may have their different well, share different opinion and things like
Yeah,
that, opinions rather, and things like that. So
and that's
because
one thing in me.
I
I respect people's
yeah, well,
point of view, and I have to.
yes,
Yeah.
well, and I'm saying that to say that I've seen, for example, no name calling, but there's a particular person who has been very, very um, vocal on social media and anti-vax at the time. At the time, I'm saying,
Yeah.
and I was surprised that I was surprised that I came across that person um, at GFK not too long ago, and I didn't think they at first recognized me, you know, but I noticed that they had their vaccination card with them, you know, and I
Mm.
was wondering, if that was just antics on social media. I'm saying that to say
Yeah.
sometimes don't the, you know, and I don't know if the person recall. Well, I remember me because I was wearing a mask and and I'm in uniform, etc., etc. So I don't know if the person recognized me, but if I said wait, thinking back, but that's the same person on social media and
Yeah.
Facebook to be size, with all this thing about the vaccine and about at one point they had a comment about you know talking about whether or not you became important and and wouldn't be able to make children and all this sort of things at the time. And I mean, and the pronouncement on social media and Facebook in particular was so pronounced. Okay, you didn't think they were joking, but lo and behold, again, and we talk about consequences. That person probably forgot at the time that they had to make a trip, and for them to make that trip,
Have to be
that,
vaccinated.
that they had to be vaccinated, and lo and behold, they had, and not just um, tested, but fully vaccinated, and they had their card, and so sometimes when you see things and you hear things, you just you
I
level
think
with them, you know.
people speak on social media thinking that they are facts, and
Mhm,
they don't want to say it's their point of view. Um, and I like for us to be like that. Say it's my point of view, it's my
mhm,
views.
mhm.
It's not the views of anything else. It's my
Yeah,
views. So
yeah. Well, yeah, Mike. So, Mike, we heard you and loud and clear, Mike, loud and clear. Also, anti-vax is a broad term that is used to include anti-mandate people as well. Mr. Sylvan, great conversation. Your approach makes sense. Hope your students have a safe and successful season. From um, Edwin Sam,
thank you,
aka Jersey.
thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you very much, Edwin and Toro and our good friend Mike Batiste. Thank you very much for keeping us
there is a, there is
keeping us keeping us entertained, Mike. And
there is
Toro
a
said all the Fox News people preaching against vaccine are vaccinated. Go figure. We both of all the Grenadians who died from COVID, and a very serious note in truth.
yeah.
Especially, I mean, you all probably had the all share in Toronto. We know in New York, New Jersey, the tri-state area in particular, when it was the height of that, I mean, people were just
And
on
we
a daily
still
basis.
have people dying every
Yeah,
day. Every
it
day
was
we
on a
still having people
daily
dying. So
it was on a daily basis. You were hearing
yeah,
about Grenadians, I mean people that you know of, and
yeah.
things like
I
that,
mean
or family members. Yeah, so it was.
we get to
I
two. We
mean,
had. I mean, I
that's a
listened to
very.
that, and it's
Mhm.
just that, and Lincoln, that is such a good point
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
we had more people die in Grenada in a span of 6 months than 5 years. And
Well,
we're not
you
talking
mean
about foreigners.
no, no,
We're talking
no,
about people who
that's
are actually in Grenada.
no. Well, you say 6 months?
So
No, man. Probably 6 weeks. You want to say,
yeah,
man? Not.
but I mean,
Yeah,
I was,
yeah. But
yeah,
it was
you
from the
know,
September. I remember it was from
yeah,
September to
September to
about
like
October,
October,
November.
yeah,
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 I mean, it
yeah.
was sometimes 10 a
So
day.
there's a lot, and we just have to do what we have to do to get this thing behind us. And I think
Yeah.
that's where it could be one of the issues too. Even
Yeah.
for artists to play sports, there is a lot of great things happening in 2022.
Yeah.
Um, right now, last year, the Olympics allowed them to come in who is not vaccinated, who is this, who is that, right? This year, it may not be. It might be the country rules. Because for them, for Jamaica to host a meet like this, they got to get permission from the government. The government could say the people coming in must be vaccinated. This meet have to be vaccinated. The NACA games in Bahamas, they could say the same thing. U20 in Colombia could say the same thing. Commonwealth Games, they all could say the exact same thing, that the people coming in, netball games you're going to, basketball games you're going to, you're rubbing up on someone else. You don't know if they're vaccinated or not. People talking in your face. There's a whole lot of different things that can happen. I'm not saying people will die, but I'm just saying that you don't know what they will do to your psyche. You doesn't know what you're going to do. There's a lot of great things happening in 2022. But if
Mhm.
we work together, come together, do what we have to do.
Mhm.
We started very good.
Mhm.
Just before I go, we started very good in Grenada. People wearing the mask. The conductors spraying people hand. They're sanitizing, and all of a sudden, not even the
Yeah.
drivers wearing a mask now,
Yeah.
and not even the government putting it in place now. We have for us to get it together. We have to work together. We're looking at all the vaccine aspect, and but we're not looking at the things we have to do.
Mhm.
Everybody want to live the same life and do the same thing doing, but not social distancing,
Because
not wearing the
remember,
mask. I'm not saying
remember,
get the vaccine, but I'm
yeah.
saying do what you have to do. Stay away
Yeah.
from people for a while.
Mhm.
It's like this Christmas season, there was no party or anything else. Like they miss party so much that it was just
Yeah.
just going
Because
wild.
remember, they're still saying that even if you're fully vaccinated, it's still
Yes,
recommended that you
still
observe
recommend
the it's still
the
recommended that you
protocols.
observe the protocols, right?
And for
Um,
and for us to get it out of the way, we have to
mhm,
do those things and let it die out, get away. I don't know how it's gonna die out, how it's going
mhm,
to do, but pandemics in the past has gone away. It
mhm,
has gone away. So
mhm. Yeah. Let me just take some comments there and then wrap that up there. Mike is saying rubbing up on somebody will not make a difference since the vax does not stop contracting it or spreading it. Now CNN is saying that the face masks are decoration. Fossey, as Dr. Fossey said, to wear them as well. Mike is saying COVID is not going away. We agree. It's here, and we have to at least we'll have to stay with it. Roger Augustine, good afternoon to you, Roger. Happy New Year to you and Shanti and family. We are still wearing our masks. I can agree. Not much sanitizing away from the bus stop. Well, yes, I mean you make the bus terminal. That's the one that's is really, really having a go. Edwin is saying, Mr. B, when are you going to give Toro his hour on the hot seat? Well, Toro is always welcome. It's just that I have to prepare for when Toro comes, because it's the old talk and the but good points Toro makes, but it's just that Toro does always juke a little thing. He does juke things, and I had to make sure I prepare for when Toro start juking things, But yeah, that's it. That's in the making. That's in the making. Oh, and he's saying, um, I think it's more pun than anything else. Dr. Batiste. he said he said Dr. Batiste. Yeah, that's I'm certain Mike Batiste, right? Yeah. So folks, thank you very much. And Roger, no doubt, hopefully we hear good things from you and Shanti and others. I like that spirit, and I hope that spirit will continue. And I'm really hoping, for the sake of Shanti and others in her situation, that at least they get something. I mean, every time I think about it, and knowing the sort of talent we have in front of her, and knowing that Shanti has never really gotten the opportunity, whether it's Intercall or Carifta Games, you know, all because of the circumstances and and things like that. So Torres saying, only comment if you bring me boy Ray Roberts. um Edwin, could you imagine I have Ray Roberts and Lincoln Toro Deputy in the same program discussing things? Could you imagine that? And have Toro probably talking West Indies cricket? I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I have to be a doctor to be correct if I'm not towing the line right. No, no, Mike. I don't think that. I think Edwin just pulling your legs. We are just saying, we are we are just talking about everyone. Thanking everyone, and I think Edwin would have just dropped in the Dr. Batiste. Ray and Toro, we go sell tickets. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying, Edwin. Yeah, we'll sell tickets for that one. That's box office. That's a box office. Thank you very much once again. Mike, as I said, thank you very much. I will call you Mike. The others may call you Dr. Batiste. Thanks for your input. Always make for good conversation. I hope next time around, we'll be talking solely, when I say next time around, another time when we have the program, solely track and field. So I like your input because I want to hear from you regarding the whole issue of the clubs and the clubs versus schools and things like that. So I know you have your views on that. We want to hear about what are they thinking about the clubs and things like that. So Roger is saying thanks, bro. You will see some good times from the clubs like SCRS, MVP, Ace Track. Right. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. And that's what I'm trying to get from Mike, Well, Mike was on that vaccine roll today. Alan James, hey, yes, Alan. Inspector Alan
The
James.
James, how you doing?
Michael, always very informative. Looking forward to join your program. Certainly, Alan, it has been quite a while. You haven't been on. We want to hear from not just the FA, but we want to also hear from the police sports club. What's cooking. So certainly I have that. Well, I didn't make contact with you, but I have that as a follow-up. We need to follow up because from the last program, we plan to follow up again so we can decide when it's best for you to be on the program, whether it's FA or whether it's police sports club, etc., etc. Mike says we'll study for it. Have a great day, guys. We're working down here to make it happen. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, that club thing. I know Mike is involved in clubs and likewise, Roger, Augustine, Neil Wells, all these guys are now involved in clubs. And that is what we have been asking for a while. But yes, that's good on the part of Mike and Neil and Roger and all these guys. What is more important is the support, they're getting from the national associations, making sure that there are programs, there are things that can keep their clubs vibrant because, the guys can have clubs and then there's nothing, basically for them to participate and ensure that there's, membership and, all these things in it. I hear Weston is about to turn the corner. Bring Haynes and someone to discuss it. No, no. That's good things for West Indies. Yeah, good things for West Indies. Mike B, I agree with you. It's not, unfortunately, stay safe, my brother. And Alan says, I'm ready when you can, Michael. Yes, guys, take care. Thanks very much. Always a pleasure having you around. And, I'll let you know because Rudian and others, next Saturday is my travel day. I'll be traveling off to the west. I'll be on deployment again. And
Okay.
next Saturday is my travel date. So I will let you know when our program the time because the time zone is different. So we'll work that out though. But during the week I will let you know about program and schedule. Thanks very much. Thank you
All
very
right. Thank
much,
you, man. Be safe out
Rudian.
there and travel safe.
Yes,
Thanks,
always a
guys.
pleasure.
Happy New Year again to everyone.
Yeah,
And like I said before, let 2022 be better than 2021.
certainly. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay then. Yes, folks. So that's Rudian Sylvan live in Toronto, Canada. Well, it's always a pleasure having him and giving us his insight. And I'm in Brooklyn, New York. Happy New Year to you, Mike Batiste. Happy New Year to everyone. Alan James, Edwin Sam, Lincoln Toro Depredine, Roger Augustine. Thank you very much for being part of the program, sharing your insights, and keeping us updated as to very informative program, I will say, and our discussion. Very informative discussion, I should say. It had to do a lot with the COVID, the challenges that we're facing, and how that will affect sports in the new year, looking at whether it's intercall, whether it's the school sports, whether it's football. Well, we see football already. They did their homework, they did what they have to do, and we have seen that it's possible. Cricket also did something. What we haven't seen is things like netball, the volleyball, the basketball, others. I know there have been coaching programs and things ongoing, but how will that affect the sports season for 2022 and all that's happening? What plans are in place? What initiatives have they come up with now? The sports administrators have for a while now, um, probably discussing things. What is the plan of action? Because COVID will be around for a while, so you can't just say, "Oh, every year, just say because of COVID we can't do this, we can't do that." Now is the time for us to know what it is you plan. What is plan A? What is plan B? You know, how do you plan to go ahead? With your programs, hosting national championships or whatever it is like that. So, um, you know, we need to hear from you folks. Thank you very much once again. Happy New Year, and hopefully looking forward to you being with us again. For another program. I will let you know. Again, I will say I will let you know when is our program. Hopefully on Thursday we'll have our program. That's our midweek program. But in terms of our weekend program, I let you know that Saturday is my travel day. But going forward, we'll let you know when is our program. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend.